All right, everybody, welcome. This is season 3, episode 16 of Motivate Me 313's podcast. We are officially live and back in the studio. Our last show was done virtually with our cousin Aisha and Shed, who is in North Carolina. So we had to make sure that we went live virtually for last week, and it went well. Appreciate those two guests for coming on the show. But let's talk about today's show. First of all, let's introduce the people who are in the building. Let's start off with little big bro Yusuf Thabit on the ones and twos. We appreciate him in the back doing his thing. To the right of me, we got Sada T. She's in the building, one of my sisters, and my other sister is Abida T. She's to the left of me as well. Of course, did I introduce myself? Omar T. You know, you guys, Omar T here. And then our guest for today is Samar. Clap it up for Samar. She's in the building. She got a loud round of applause right there. You know, the crowd's been waiting. The crowd's been waiting to give us a round of applause. Shout out to Samar. She's in the building today. And today's show is titled A Mother's Love, Torn Between Two Sons. We're going to dive into this conversation today. Shout out to Dr. Kemal for getting us connected. We appreciate him. He's the one that got this whole connection going. And as soon as he mentioned it to me, I was like, for sure, let's make it happen. Read the article, and I was like, oh my God, this is one of those stories that need to be told. Already been told, but now this is maybe in a different platform. So looking forward to what someone has to say throughout her and her family's journey. And so we're going to definitely, listen to what she has to say. Before we dive into the story, though, I do want to say be sure to follow us on all of our socials. You have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all under Oz Media. You can listen to the show later on Apple and Spotify podcasts under Oz Media. If you want to call in, the number is 313-306-1750. Again, 313-306-1750. The sponsors, The Balkan House, Juice Box, Kahwa House, BC Adhesives, Specialty Medical Center, and Hanley International Academy. I want to start off by giving a shout out to Specialty Medical Center. Shout out to Yusuf and Madrahi and everybody over there at Specialty. And then we're going to officially get this show on the road. So again, shout out to Specialty Medical Center. Then let's get this show started. All right, Yusuf. So the other day I was playing basketball with my friends, doing what I usually do on the court. But as I was driving to the lane, I kind of hurt my knee.
Oh, man, not again.
Yeah, but this time I knew which place to go to that would take care of me the best. And that is Specialty Medical Center. Specialty Medical Center is a medical center that prides itself on patient care and its rehabilitation services. Their primary focus is developing a customized treatment plan unique to each individual patient's needs. Their center offers a full range of patient care, from diagnostic testing, pain management, physical therapy, regenerative medicine solutions, and surgical care. They currently have 2 locations, one in Dearborn and one in Sterling Heights. So if you're looking for a place that treats your medical needs the best, be sure to stop by Specialty Medical Center. All right, we're officially back and ready to get this show on the road. Just like I said, looking forward to hearing what the guest has to say. So first I want to start off with you, Samar. How are you? I know you traveled from Indiana. How's Indiana going? And can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, what's your 9 to 5? What do you do? And everything else in between before we even dive into the family story.
Well, first of all, assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me here. It's really an honor, and may Allah make this blessing and this message be sent to somebody that really, really wants it, or somebody that is in need. And inshallah would be a sadaqah jariyah for all of us, inshallah. A little bit background about myself. I was born and raised here in Michigan.
Okay.
And after I got married, my husband and I, we moved to Indiana. I'm a nurse, and he was studying in Indiana, so we liked it there. We live in a small town called Bloomington. It's a college town.
University of Indiana,
Yes.
located in Bloomington.
Yes. It's a Forest Lake Island. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We love the atmosphere there, and it's sightseeing. It's we thought this is it.
It's a good place to start a family.
Yes. It's
Is there any other Arab?
Well, when I first 9 years ago when I moved down, I was the only Yemeni there.
Wow.
Yeah, And it felt so weird to go to the pharmacy and tell them my last name, and they didn't have to scroll down and give them more information. It was just like my last name. So it was beautiful. But then, alhamdulillah, more Yemeni students start coming in and families. So there's a very good Muslim community, which is like international, more from out of country, like from Saudi, Kuwait, Turkey. There's a lot
A
of
good mix. I like that.
beautiful, and we're all gathered in one small masjid that looks like a house.
And you probably take care of it, and you guys are like,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
We
very
call
nice.
it the Nana's house. Like on Fridays we meet there, and like our kids meet together, and we have a kitchen. We cook there. Students
How
like
cute.
they know whenever they're hungry, there's food in the fridge.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and Ramadan, like we don't cook at home every day. There's a sponsor, like especially like from Saudi and thing that they sponsor,
Wow.
like iftar dinner
for the whole community.
for the whole community.
Like around how? Like what's the number? The amount of people? Just curious.
With give and take, I would say around probably 5,000.
Oh, that's not bad.
But
That's a
not
lot.
all of them attend.
Right,
Yeah, but if like people that attend to the masjid are more like the people are family oriented, like they have kids, and this is how it is. I want my kids to be around other Muslim
Yes.
kids, but students are mostly like there for like iftar or Eid, events.
Nice,
events. And there's like a MSA group that's sponsored from IU to the masjid. So our Eid is sponsored by the university.
Wow,
Like their
subhanallah.
iftar and everything's like by the Indiana University because of the Muslim Student Association.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Alhamdulillah. Like I can't ask for anything else. And
And I bet like a lot of your families don't live in Indiana, so it's like you guys are family together.
yeah,
Because that's how it started off in like in Michigan back in the day.
Yeah.
Like a lot of our family was back home, and like our neighbors were our family basically.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
yeah. Subhanallah.
That's so nice.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
I'm sorry we cut you off with that. But what else about you? Tell us a little bit more. Sorry.
Well, like I said, I graduated here from nursing school, and I started working at IU, but then I had my son Uwais, and it was high risk pregnancy, so I had to stay at home. And ever since then, I've been a full-time mom.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
Mubarak.
Yeah.
It is a full-time job for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and like they have to have their time. Like after when they start going to school, they're gonna develop like another personality. They're gonna introduce other people to their life. You're not gonna be the center of their attention. So this is the time where you can have me time. Like while they're in school, you do you. You either go to work or look at yourself. You take care of yourself. So by the time your kids come home, you're already fully charged for them. And not like, mix your emotions and throw it at them. It's not their fault,
I like that.
I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Definitely. I definitely
And
agree
that's a
with that.
privilege. Sometimes,
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Everything in life is privilege. Like it's like whatever I'm going through, and, like it's other people can watch us right now and say, "Oh, she's so lucky," but you probably have something that I can say you're lucky about too.
100%.
So nobody is perfect in any way. It's just alhamdulillah. Yani, you have to-
Everybody's challenges are different too. So.
yes. That's why you say alhamdulillah for everything, because whatever throws in your way, take it.
Yep.
And before we even dive in, by the way, we already got the deep conversations already started on introduction. Just want to check in with both of my sisters as well. Just want to say hello and what's new and anything you want to mention or what are you looking forward to today and hearing the stories.
I'm so excited. Just by her introduction, just shows how humble she is and how close she is to God. So I'm like already looking up to you, and I'm excited to hear what you're gonna say. But alhamdulillah, I'm doing good.
Are you teaching a class after this show? I mean, you like you're a teacher.
Like I'm a
right now.
professor.
Yeah. Abid, what's good? What's going on with you?
Alhamdulillah, we're on break. I still have a week left before going back to school. So I'm trying to, savor every minute. I teach 5th grade, so
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
challenging.
All right, so let's get started with can you tell us like the story? I mean, I was looking at the day, I believe October 9th, maybe leading up to October 9th and then 2021, I'm assuming, or 2022.
2020.
2020, October 9th, 2020. Okay, so October 9th, 2020, I guess leading up to that day and then on the day of what exactly happened and how did your life change on October 9th, 2020?
Well, it started before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give us the pre.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was 8 months pregnant with my baby boy, Salim. I was 8 months pregnant when Awais started having symptoms like throwing up here and there and not feeling himself. And then, you know, as a mom, like, everybody tells you different things. Like, oh, he's having that phase. All kids are like that, you know. He's not going to want to eat today, and he's going to throw up stomach bug, you know, and you get people from Yemen calling you and telling you, twist his stomach, do this, do that, you know.
And how old was he always, by the way? At
He
this
was
time?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5 years old, yeah.
And you're 8 months pregnant, and he was
I
two and a
was
half
8
years
months
old.
pregnant,
Okay.
yeah. We're going to my 9 month. And then
Then you probably read the internet, and the internet's telling you something else, and you're like,
it's not reading the internet, because when you're a medical profession,
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's
the
true, you're a
worst
nurse.
thing, because a lot of things, like, you have an empty space and you can fill it in with all the worst case scenarios except cancer, because that was like, no, what is
Yeah.
that? Even the doctors, like, they misdiagnosed him for 2 months because that was like the last thing to expect, you know. And then he got worse until like we went to the park, and then we were having picnic with my friends, and all the kids were in the park, around the swings, and they were all like, there's like a group of them. And then from far away, I can see this dog and the owner of the dog walking towards the park, like coming on the track. And then the dog just started barking, like going crazy. And then we're like, oh God, why would he bring a dog to, you know, where there's
kid,
kids?
yeah.
Kid zone. And then the dog, all I see is the dog flew to the kids and going straight to Awais. Like, from all those codes, he went to Awais and he just pushed him out of like nowhere, and then he flew to the woods. And then my son just started getting up, and I ran to him, and then he started crippling from there. And then I was like, okay, maybe he fractured or twisted or thing. I took him to the doctor. They did a scan, x-ray, and they were like, oh, there's nothing, it's probably a sprain. But since then, he started crippling, like walking weird, and like not walking, and every day got worse, until the point where his knees clenched together, like he was walking like his magnet, both knees, the left and the right, like they were magneted together. And he started like throwing up more, and then starting feeling more pain at night. So I'm here saying he's probably like acting out because, you know, his brother's coming, or, you know, he's starting having those emotions. But I still remember, like, he was in so much pain, and here I am putting hot packs and cold packs, take him to doctor, nothing. And then
They're doing x-rays, his bones are
nothing,
fine.
everything was fine. They did blood work. It looked like he had inflammation. They were like, oh, it's probably like he had an virus, HRV, and then once he started getting worse, they were like, oh, it's rheumatitis, juvenile rheumatitis. So they started giving him steroids. And steroids is part of the chemo treatment. So his body, Awais' type of cancer, it's Burkitt's leukemia lymphoma. We started Burkitt's lymphoma, but because I don't want to go back and like say, I didn't even like say, oh, why? But they started giving him steroids to treat the rheumatitis. But the steroids was part of the chemo treatment, and his cancer is one of the aggressive cancer that duplicates every 24 to 72 hours.
Wow.
So his body literally was saying, oh, you're shooting me with small guns, I'm going to duplicate. So by the time they diagnosed Awais, it was already metastasized through his body, literally to his sinuses. So, and then he got sick like a week before I went to labor. He got really, really sick. And where I live, there's no pediatric, like children's hospital. We have to drive all the way to the downtown with the city, the capital, which is like an hour and 40 minutes where we live. So my husband took him, and they told him, he slept for 3 days, and then they told him, oh, his kidneys are enlarged, and that's the like blood work, nothing indicated with just inflammation, nothing. And then they were like, there's so many other like factors that can lead to his kidneys why they're enlarged.
So right now they haven't really told you it's cancer.
There's no cancer.
Okay.
Like, part of the option, like, to know which one of the diagnosis is to do a biopsy. And here I am as a mom, I'm like, you're not touching my son. I know as a medical professional, once you go in and take a thing. There's always a complication, especially with the kidney. I was like, no biopsy needed. Just treat what you can treat. They were like, it's probably genetics. It's probably from the Motrin, because he was taking Motrin with an empty stomach because he wouldn't eat. So there was a lot of other things. So we started sticking out to the steroids. Until I went.
He probably was immune to the steroids to the point where like it wasn't helping anything anyways. Like by the time.
No, because the steroids was just giving him more duplication. Yeah.
It was helping the cancer.
Yeah. And then he came back home, and then before I went to labor, he had another follow up with one of the doctors. So I went with him to Indianapolis, and subhanallah, that one day we went inside the lab, but before we walked into the lab, there was a kid. He's probably was around 13, 14, and he was standing there with his dad, I think, waiting for lab. But he looked like a cancer patient. It looked like a cancer patient. And subhanallah, wallah al-azim, that day, before I walked into the door, I just stood there and I looked at him. I was staring at him blindly, like, until the point, like, his dad, he was like, hey, why you're looking at, because I was just looking at him. In that moment, I knew deep down something inside of me telling me the answer to what's going on to your son, it's cancer.
Like Allah's nabbihing you in a way.
It's not about nabbihing. It's like I knew, but I was trying to deny it because no, there's no proven fact. But as a mom instinct, I knew. Yani, subhanallah. And I walked into the lab and no. Denied. Until I went to labor, I was at the hospital where we live, and my son was at home with my husband. And then the second day I was in the hospital, my husband calls me and he was like, Uwais is completely shut. He's not moving his fingers. He's not opening his eyes. He's very like, I need to take him to the emergency.
And you're literally in labor.
Second day I was like post-op.
Oh my God.
And then he was like, I can't, he's not stopping throwing up. That's the only thing that he is doing right now is throwing up. And then I was like, okay, just take him. Call ambulance. He was like, no, I'm not going to call. I'm going to drive him there. Literally, he drove halfway and he had to call an ambulance halfway because the kid wouldn't stop throwing up and how he would drive and throwing up. The second day, that day, I left AMA out of the hospital and I gave my infant to my mom. And then I was like, I have to go see my son. There's no way. I was like, take care of him and hoping that I would be back from Salim. So I called my dad and I had alhamdulillah, my parents, like this time, like with Uwais, I gave birth to him in Michigan. I came to my parents, to sit with my mom and my dad because my first son, I don't know.
Your nifas.
Yeah, in my nifas days. But this time I decided like, no, I want to have it at my house. So mom, come stay with me for 2 weeks.
Especially with the two kids, like it's a lot easier.
Yeah, and my environment. So it's easier for you to come down than me taking my whole life.
Family.
Yeah. So alhamdulillah, my parents were in town for my birth. And I called my dad and I was like, come take me to Indianapolis. I can't stay in the hospital. I need to go. When I went, Uwais was already in the emergency room and subhanAllah, having like little flashbacks. He was in the emergency room and they said they have to do an ultrasound. The kid was already like laying down like out of this world. Like I walked in, I did not see my son. I saw somebody totally different. Like Uwais was full of life. And alhamdulillah, mashallah alayhi, he was full of life. Like nothing can bypass him. He is so brilliant, so smart, very active. And mashallah, yani, like to tell you like Uwais, like, your first child, like that's like, you want to do everything. Like my son, he worshipped Uwais. Like my husband, he worshipped Uwais.
Yeah.
Because that's like literally, like his clothes were organic. I never gave them candy or anything. When we come to Michigan, my sisters give their kids, and I'm like, please don't, I want to raise my kid the way.
SubhanAllah.
His food was never in the microwave to prevent radiation.
Yeah.
I was protecting him But subhanallah, Allah was like, who do you think you are? You know, that's how I looked at it after the fact. Because I was trying to thinking I'm his guide, astaghfirullah al-azim. At that moment, like, this is how I was looking at it. And once, like, your child like that, not even...
Out of your hands.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on? I walked in and I was like, they were like, okay, we have to do ultrasound. Automatically, khalas, by that time, they started doing ultrasound. The technician couldn't even finish. She just looked, and then she went and got the radiologist to come and finish. The radiologist, he was like, I need to call a CAT scan really quick. Ala tul, it was proven that it's cancerous because it was already metastasized to his pancreas, his liver, his kidneys. Yani it was already like out there. Like there's nothing else showing except cancerous. And I knew the environment, what was going on based on like, their motion and how they were looking and thing, but nobody directly yet told me like thing. So we're like, oh, we have to admit him. And so they took us to a regular internal medicine floor and everything. And then the rheumatologist doctor, she came in and with other doctors and that. And I was like, And then one of the doctors start pulling the chair, and me, my husband. Oh, and this was during COVID, so no parents. Only one parent was allowed in the hospital. But because it was like newly diagnosed, so they wanted both parents to be there. So my husband and I, we were and they sat us down, and this is in the room while Uwais is laying down in the bed. And then the doctor, the attending, he was like, okay, and the medical student can sit with Uwais to give him company, and we want to talk to you. He pulled the chair. As soon as he pulled the chair, I knew there was something.
Throughout this whole process of them doing all, what are you talking to your husband? Are you guys talking to each other?
No. Me, my husband didn't even dare to look at eye to eye because once we look in eye and eye, we know we're gonna get answers from both of each other. So we're trying to avoid each other. And like I said, my husband worshipped Uwais. Like that was everything. If I needed anything, I would tell him Uwais wants it right away. It gets. Yeah, and subhanallah, like the love for him, it was so different. And then my husband and I were sitting down, and then the doctor, he just, looked at us and he was like, I'm sorry to say, your son has cancer. Like at that time, like subhanallah, that's when it really hits.
Your first question, like what was your first question when he said that?
When he told me that, subhanallah, at that moment, God gave me the power to say, what's next? I was like, what's next?
Like, what do we need to do?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what's next? My husband passed out.
Oh,
he fell. At that moment, I knew the world was on my shoulder. Literally, the saying, the world is on your shoulder, it was me. Because I was like, I looked at Uwais, I looked at all these doctors, and I'm like, what are you saying? I'm like, okay, what's next? What's gonna happen? Like, okay, what thing? And then he was like, okay, they looked at me like, okay,
yeah,
you're ready for the step. I'm like, yeah, give me the steps. At that moment, they were like, okay, we have to move you to oncology floor, and we have to we have to do biopsies to see what type and how far and blah, 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 blah.
Is this the same hospital you took him to from the beginning?
Yeah.
With his...
To Riley Children's Hospital, yeah. And then, subhanallah, khalas, at that moment, like, the bomb already dropped.
Yeah.
It's just like, how are you going to handle it? And...
yeah. So he was then diagnosed with, I'll make sure I say this correctly, it's Burkitt lymphoma.
Burkitt's lymphoma, leukemia.
Leukemia, okay. So Burkitt's lymphoma and leukemia. And so can you tell us a little bit about what is that and how common is it, for children to have it?
Okay, Burkitt's it's Burkitt's lymphoma.
Burkitt's lymphoma.
Yeah, for Caucasians, they normally get it around their intestines, their liver, their kidneys, mostly their kidneys. For African Americans, they get it around their jaw, and it's mostly common in children. So they're normally in the jaw, in the lymph nodes, or the kidney lymph nodes. But with Uwais, because it was already metastasized, it already went to his blood. So they diagnosed him Burkitt's lymphoma, leukemia. So his treatment, normally with Burkitt's leukemia and lymphoma, there's stages. There's stage to stage 6. Uwais was already stage 6. So subhanallah, on the floor on the same time Uwais was getting treatment, there was another girl, a 4-year-old, with the same diagnosis, but hers was Burkitt's lymphoma. It was only in her kidneys and they caught it really quick. So her treatment was only 2 months. And she had to do like dialysis. Uwais's treatment was 8 months straight, like back to back. Like there was no time to even leave the hospital. Like 18 months, 18 days, and then week you give chemo, and then week to wait for his blood count to drop, like all his cells to die, and then a week for the side effects to start coming, like the chemo start coming out of his body. And then once his counts start coming back up, and then they shoot him again. Doctors themselves, they call it, we're shooting your son with nuclear weapons. They were like, there's, because it's how aggressive it is, we have to go faster and more aggressive than the cancer. So they were shooting him with every different angles, like literally like every 3 days they would have to like sedate him and then give him chemo through his spinal cord. Like I would have to hold him while they're taking out samples and shooting chemo through his spinal cord. And then once they start giving him the chemo and then he started getting sick, they have to put him in ICU because they over give him the painkillers. Like there's nothing more they can give his size and his age more. So they have to like put him to sleep until his body recovers, and they just put their hands up and they were like, it's time for Uwais to show us what's next. Yeah.
So, well, first of all, we got Iwana said hi, and then Ebony Jackson said, so sorry to hear that. So, going off of that, let's talk more about, the whole 8-month, chemotherapy and the whole process. Like, how was it? How was Uwais, taking it, and also how was it for the family? I know you're obviously not seeing your other son throughout this, probably most of the time throughout this whole process, and your parents, your husband, like how was that like draining, I guess, or just on the minds of your family?
Well, alhamdulillah that I get to sit down right now and tell you guys, alhamdulillah, Uwais is doing good, alhamdulillah. Allahumma lak alhamd, this is a miracle. Like Uwais is a miracle child to now, because what he went through,
how hard was it on him, especially?
It was very, very hard. Like a 2-year-old, what did he do in life? Like he doesn't know nothing but to play and mom and dad. There's nothing but what, especially the first 3 months, they were the hardest. Like, wallah, there's nothing in this world can take to see what he was going through. To the point, like I had to contact like so many like different shuyukh to tell me, like, I know like once we get sick, it's dhunub trying to come out of our souls, and hamal dhunubna, alhamdulillah, tuhur and everything. But he's a 2.5. What did he do? Astaghfirullah al-azim, was alhamdulillah, Allahumma lak alhamd, through the whole time, I would never said, why me? Why my child? Thing, but alhamdulillah, Allahumma lak alhamd, the whole time I was like, this is a test to me. Yeah. This is my pain. It's not his pain. I was trying to convince myself Uwais was not feeling any pain. It's my pain. It's the pain to my eyes. I need to see your son, his mouth is all burned down to his esophagus, and azakumullah, it's like pooping blood, peeing blood, and in burning his whole body. Your son changed from white kid to like completely burned black child, like African American. How they're so skinny, and I was taking bones, and he was mashallah alayhi mateen. He was good, and he clinched. He was paralyzed for 2 months. He was not moving and not walking. It was the hardest thing. And the other hand, it's like, here goes my infant that I did not only see one day. Like I only saw him for 1 day with my mom, and I couldn't even breastfeed him because I was trying to pump, and then
even your body. So
subhanallah, let me tell you, when they say you're put in the fight and flight zone, this is it. I remember Uwais had, like, he was getting this one chemo, methotrexate. His body is only allowed to keep it in his body for 2 days. And the only way to excrete that chemical from his body is through pooping or peeing. But Uwais was not eating. He was not moving. He was not